What's going on, guys? Tyler here and welcome to an extended episode of Addicks Edition. So at 5 PM today, the summer transfer window slams shut for the Championship clubs, and today I'm going to be going through every single player that Charlton have signed and have let go, and just basically have a discussion about whether or not our transfer window was successful or not. So without any further hesitation, let's just jump straight into it. So Charlton's transfer embargoes kick-started on the same day of the whole Roland Bowyer situation scandal, things like that. It happened minutes before that obviously came public, and obviously that outraged a lot of fans. But the player that came in was, of course, Leyton Orient striker Macaulay Bonne. Now, of course, Macaulay, 23, Zimbabwe international, came from non-league, did really well last year in non-league. However, he is the one we have to be the most patient with. Of course, he's come from non-league, he's got to make the step up 3 divisions, and even Bowyer said himself, Macaulay won't be starting games and he'll be looking to develop as a player. Now, of course, I personally think we can't criticise Macaulay Bonne yet, mainly because he's not ready for Championship football yet. Everyone knows that. I hope that he knows that. Bowyer knows that. But yeah, he's not going to be playing week in, week out, and I think that he needs time to develop. We could potentially loan him out in January if we really wanted him to, but I think next season is when we can start to criticise him, because after he's had development for a year, he should be somewhat ready. Not 100%, but should be ready. But Macaulay, we have to be patient with him, but overall, I'm not too optimistic with this signing. A few days later, Bowyer and Gallen announced their first double signing of the transfer window in the signings of striker Chukwuemeka and defender Tom Lockyer. Now, both of them, in my opinion, have been our 2 most prolific signings so far. Chukwuemeka was the first to be announced. Now, this one came out of nowhere. We weren't really linked with Chucks at all until it came out of nowhere, and people were really surprised. And I'm really happy with this signing. Yes, he came from League 2. He scored quite a few goals for League 2 to help out MK Dons achieve promotions to League 1. And he did come from League 2, but he is absolutely brilliant. He's built like an absolute monster. He is a tank. His vision is brilliant. He knows when to pass the ball. He can shoot, and he's not going to get pushed off the ball at all this season. And Chucks is going to be a really good player for us. Unfortunately, he did pick up a hamstring injury in our pre-season game against Villa, so he missed the Blackburn game, but he looks set to feature against Stoke, so it'd be really good to see him in action in the Championship. I'm optimistic of him. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And likewise with Tom Lockyer. I think Tom Lockyer personally has been the most impressive of the signings so far. I think that for a defender, on first sight, he looks like quite a little lad for a centre-back, but honestly, he's brilliant in possession for a defender. He can pass the ball really well. He drives really well. He ain't afraid to have a shot if he really wants to. Against Blackburn, he didn't really put a foot wrong, but he was quite quiet, had a bit of a quiet game. But Lockyer, I think, will be a regular starter for us this season. Both of them have been very impressive, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do at the Valley on Saturday. Charlton's 4th signing was a player returning to the Valley who spent last season out on loan with us, and that was, of course, the return of Ben Purrington. Now, of course, Purrington, the left-back, came on loan from Rotherham last season, having spent the beginning of last year with Wimbledon. Then it was cancelled to then join us. And if I'm being honest with you, he had a fairly average loan spell with us in League 1, if I'm honest. His best parts was towards the end of his loan spell, but before that he was fairly average. And I have to be honest with you, from pre-season onwards, looking at him in pre-season, I have to admit I felt that he was going to struggle to cope in the Championship. And of course, we all know what happened on Saturday against Blackburn. He actually managed to score our first goal of the season. So yeah, he scored in our last 2 competitive matches. So yeah, Purrington for me, I think, I'm optimistic with him, but I do think that we probably could have got someone better in. Of course, he's definitely going to be ahead of Lewis Page. I mean, Page for me is just robbing a footballing career. He's just keeps getting injured and injury prone and things like that. I think we should probably let him go in January, to be honest with you, because he's too injury prone at this point. Purrington, I'm optimistic with him, but I hope that he can keep his performance going up from League 1, carrying it over from the end of the League 1 season, because he was quite average, as I mentioned before, on his previous loan spell. Signing number 5 was another player that was returning to SC7, and that was the return of fan favourite Ben Amos. Now, of course, Ben Amos was out on loan with us back in 2017-18 from Bolton. He played every single league game and he was absolutely flawless. He then got sent out on loan to our arch enemies Millwall last season, and he didn't have that much of an impressive season at a Championship level. Same with Jordan Archer, but he still got ahead of Archer in the team, which I felt quite strange. He, of course, has now left Bolton. Of course, Bolton just in an absolute mess right now. But he's left Bolton. He signed for us on a 1-year contract with the option of extending that to an extra year. And let's just say he's not exactly hit the ground running for the fans so far. Not many fans have been particularly impressed with him so far, in particular with his pre-season game against Aston Villa, but he needs time. I did say, of course, he has been given the number 13 with Dylan Phillips being number 1, and I felt that this was the right decision because it would have been really harsh if Phillips was to lose his spot already. For me, Amos needs to work hard, and if Phillips, God forbid, doesn't work out in the Championship, then we have Amos to fall back on, and then he can fit in between the six, because we've got some good keepers now, both of them good keepers. We needed a backup keeper, and Amos, I think, I'm happy to see him back, and I'm optimistic for him. Got the absolutely unbelievable news that Johnny Williams would be re-signing for the Addicks. This was an absolutely unbelievable signing. A lot of people expected Johnny to leave the club, of course. We didn't offer him a contract in our retain list. We had to let him go, which was understandable because his wage bill was ridiculously high. Palace were paying the majority of his wages, and we just couldn't afford him. And then Johnny ended up coming back to train with us whilst he was a free agent. Of course, his contract had run out. Swansea, Brentford and Luton were interested in him, I think, and they could have signed him at any time. But Williams was training with us, of course, and then I think everyone knew, including Williams, he had to take a wage cut if he wanted to stay with us. And honestly, fair play to him. Hats off to him for taking that massive wage cut, because he has taken a big wage cut to stay here. And like Amos, he has signed a one-year deal with the option of extending that to an extra year. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Johnny in action again. I think he's going to be a vital part to our team this season. One thing I have to say, though, end product and the final ball is what he lacks. He lacks that big time, but he got an assist against Blackburn, so hopefully he can build upon that. I'm expecting him to grab a couple goals this season. And not long after that, Lee Bowyer completed an entire defensive line, completely spoilt for choice in the defensive line, with the addition of his 7th signing in Deji Oshilaja from AFC Wimbledon. Now, again, if I'm being honest with you here, when it was first announced, I was not too keen on this because obviously Oshilaja came from a team that finished in 20th in League One last season. Not only that, but he actually wasn't playing towards the second half of the season. I think he had a bit of a falling out with Wally Downs and then didn't end up playing, but the first time I saw Oshilaja play was against Aston Villa, and he was occupying Christian Bielik's old role, where of course he was playing as a defensive midfielder and sort of pulled back as a centre-half, and he actually played really well. I was quite impressed with him. He played about 2 minutes against Blackburn, so I can't really judge him on that. But again, like Lockyer, Oshilaja, at first impression, first sight, he looks quite small for a centre-back, but like Anike, he's built like an absolute monster. He's built like a tank. He has a good eye, is a good passing range, does quite well, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in action. As I said in my Addicks Editions episode about him, I don't think he's going to be a regular starter for us. I think he's going to have to fight for his spot in the team, but of course, with the sale of someone that we had recently, someone that was sold, he could be utilised as another position because he's quite a versatile defender, can play across anywhere, across the entire back line. Of course, following those 7 additions, we now decided to move over to the loan market, and the loan market kick-started a couple of days before our game against Blackburn. I think it was the day before, actually. And that was the signing of Conor Gallagher from Chelsea on a season-long loan. Now, this was an unbelievable signing. Of course, he's 19, so he's a very young lad, but he was Chelsea's Academy Player of the Year last year and earned himself a substitute appearance on the bench in the Europa League final against Arsenal. And, of course, Chelsea went on to win that. Now, Gallagher was chucked straight into the deep end against Blackburn, and his first touch in the game, he nearly scored. He's very composed, very calm on the ball, isn't afraid to have a shot, and he can score goals. And I think Gallagher is going to be really good for us this season. We are quite spoiled for choice in the midfield. You're going to see why in a minute, but Gallagher, I think, is going to be really good for us. I'm optimistic with him, as I said, with these players, but this one I'm very optimistic with. And then over the next 24 hours, my God, did we turn the screw in this transfer window. Jesus Christ. Josh Cullen, Sam Field and Jonathan Lecco in the space of 24 hours on loan. Absolutely unbelievable business. I mean, starting off with Josh Cullen, he needs no introduction at all. Absolutely unbelievable for us in League One last season. Of course, crossed the ball for the all-important goal against Wembley that's in Wembley that saw us get promoted to the Championship. It was unlikely that we were going to try and get him back, but after West Ham completed the signings of the likes of Fornals and players like that, Pellegrini probably saw that he wasn't going to get game time this season. So we've taken Cullen back on a season-long loan, and I'm really happy to see him back. He gives us so much depth in the midfield, and he's definitely going to be a regular starter for us this season. And let's just get started on our West Bromwich Albion loanees, Sam Field and John Lecco. Sam Field, again in the midfield. This kid is going to be big. He is, I believe I think he's 19, or is he 20 or 21? I don't know. I think he's 19, but again, very young lad. A lot of West Brom fans are saying that he should be starting for them, which is quite interesting. But yeah, Sam Field, again, he gives us a lot of depth in the midfield, a lot of choice. decent little player. Ain't afraid to have a shot. He's got a sharp left foot, apparently. So I'm looking forward to seeing Phil play. But the one I'm most impressed with is John Lecco. He's not got the most impressive goal record in the world, but I think he could be the next Carlon Grant. I think Taylor... Lyle Taylor is going to help him out massively in the attack. He's got some pace and we need some speed in this team. And Lecco can bring that. I think he's going to play as a striker. He's going to be really good for us. Of course, 20 years old. Hasn't really broken into West Brom's team yet. But as I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing this guy in action. Got some speed. He could be prolific for us this season. And who knows, he could return to West Brom as a regular starter next season. But of course, we did have some players exit the club as well. Of course, I think, if I get any of these wrong, I do apologise, but I believe roughly the players that Charlton lost in the transfer window were Bauer, Aribo, Marshall, Parker, Vetkele, Reeves, Ajose, and Dijksteel. I think they're the only players that Charlton have ended up losing. Of course, Patrick Bauer, we all know how that went out. He went out and went off to Preston. Which, as I said, was really disappointing to see him go. At the end of the day, he's gone for a higher wage bill and gone to a rival team, which is annoying. But we have covered for him with the signings of Oshilaja and Lockyer. Aribo going was a massive loss as well. Again, he's just gone for the money to Rangers. Again, very strange move. Don't really get why he's ended up at Rangers. But again, we've covered for the midfield massively now with the signings of Cullen, Gallagher, Kyle, if he is to come in. And also the likes of Pratley, Falsterkaski, Williams and EK still here, Lapsley, Morgan. We've got more than enough in the midfield now. Sam Field as well. And of course, the players that we've ended up releasing have found new clubs. Mark Marshall is now at Gillingham. All the best to him. I think League One is his level, and I think he's going to do quite well for Gillingham. Vetkele's gone back to Belgium. He's gone to Breveren, I think that's where he's gone to. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Ben Reeves has returned to MK Dons. So again, wish him the best in League One. Josh Parker's gone to Wickham. I hope that he can at least score a goal whilst he's at Wickham. But yeah, Nicky Ajose went off to Exeter. As I said again, Ajose just never hit the ground running for us really. Of course, we were dealt with a massive blow with the loss of Anthony Dijksteel. Of course, Dijksteel confirmed he would be joining Middlesbrough. I think it was a few days ago, probably about Monday or Tuesday, that the deal was confirmed. But it was announced yesterday, but the deal was done, I think, on Tuesday, which... This one really annoys me because Roland and Bowyer both said that he was not for sale and then they go and sell him a day later for 2 million. Apparently, Bowyer made the decision to sell him, which I think was quite strange because I think that... I mean, it just sparked a lot of outrage and a lot of fans. Like, I mean, funny, Dijksteel was so underrated at Charlton. That reaction to Bowyer telling him to leave and people going, oh, it wasn't a big loss, just shows how underrated he was. Dijksteel was quality for us. And now... Bowyer hasn't got what he wants. He wanted two players per position. He now doesn't have that with Dijksteel. Unless we out of nowhere sign a right back. I have no idea. But Dijksteel is gone. I wish Anthony all the best at Middlesbrough, but I'm gutted that he's gone. He was one of my favourite players, but... Yeah, I think that probably Oshilaja will be used as a backup right back now to compete with Chris Solly, because I think Solly's likely to be our backup right back now. But it's going to be interesting. We have been linked with Colchester right back Caden Vincent Young. I haven't heard anything about him signing. I don't actually know, but yeah. Losing Dijksteel is a big loss. But I think that our signings have been better than our let-goes, because like, most of our players that we let go were released anyway. Bauer, Aribo and Dijksteel were the only players we lost, and we've replaced them very adequately indeed. And all I'm saying is... we're going to surprise some people this season. The signings that we've made, some of them have been absolutely incredible. Like Lecco, Field, Cullen, Gallagher, Hemed and Kyle if they go over the line. Williams coming back, Lockyer, and EK. Most of those guys genuinely are brilliant, and I think we're going to do really well this season. We're going to surprise a couple people. And above all, the king, Lyle Taylor, is staying, rejecting 4 bids from Brentford, rejecting a Brentford bid 2 minutes before the deadline, reportedly to be worth 4 million. We rejected it. Lyle's staying at Charlton. Big, big news. And all the fans that were slagging him off can now apologise to him and move on. Lyle's here to stay. We've got the players that we wanted. And my God, I can't wait for the rest of this season. So that's it for this very special edition of Addicks Editions. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on those post notifications so you're notified of when I post. This will be the last Addicks Editions episode posted until January, where hopefully Charlton will sign a couple of players, hopefully in January. But yeah, that was it for the transfer roundup of all the players that we've signed, let go. What do you guys think of Charlton's summer transfer window? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Charlton have enough to stay in the league or potentially do better? This has been Tyler Wellington. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all on Saturday for the first game at home in the Championship against Stoke City. See you then. Goodbye, guys.